Let me get my water over here. Okay. Gracias. It's been so beautiful listening to the voices, the poetry, not only the pain, but the transcendence. And it's so inspiring at this time that many of us are feeling like what's going on, this is the apocalypse, right? And yet here we are reading our poetry. And this is what gives us sustenance. This is what gives us purpose. This is what gives us strength. So thank you, Kim, for making this happen. Thank you, Josiah, for your invitation. And thank you to all the poets here who are lending their voices. I'd like to start off by naming, I took this children's theme pretty literally. And so I went through some of my work, old and new, and identified some poems that I would share today. But I thought that before I start this, I would list the name of the 7 children who have died in ICE custody that we know of so far, because the ACLU just got finished saying, their new report, that since the Trump administration was mandated to start getting families back together, there's been over 5,000 separations of families. So it's still going on. So I'm going to say the names of the children, and after each one, I'm going to be giving their name, where they're from, and their age. Please say presente, okay? Daryl Cristobal Cordova Valle, El Salvador, 10 years old, presente. Jacqueline Gael Maquin, Guatemala, 7 years old. Presente. Felipe Gomez Alonso, Guatemala, 8 years old. Presente. Juan de Leon Gutierrez, Guatemala, 16 years old. Wilmer Josue Ramirez Vasquez, Guatemala, 2.5. Carlos Hernandez Vasquez, Guatemala, 16. Mari Juarez, Guatemala, 1 year old. Okay. So may their spirits and their souls return to us the strength that we need to create a new society, so that when they return, their spirits return, they will find justice. I am going to start off with a poem called The New Warsaw Ghetto. And for those of you who know, I was a kid when I was reading about the Warsaw Ghetto, which was during World War II, a neighborhood in Poland where they just pretty much shoved all the Jewish people into and basically just starved them to death. And I remember being really impacted by a photograph of an emaciated child on a street, several, with the shoes of businessmen and women who had high heels walking past them as if they were nothing. And this is, of course, what is also going on in the detention camps on the border. So, the New Warsaw Ghetto. The New Warsaw Ghetto is around the corner on the Texas-Mexico border, down the street on the California border, the Arizona border. Publicly financed, corporately owned, government-operated enclaves of despair. The New Warsaw Ghetto metastasizes in the not-so-good old USA, in detention camps, in cages, in isolated, windowless prisons driven like spikes into the southern border. In the New Warsaw Ghetto, children are torn from their families and warehoused like animals, shivering under aluminum covers or left to sleep on unforgiving streets. In the New Warsaw Ghetto, tear gas smothers and the feds demother thousands of refugee children. They are red meat for the haters and for men of means and for mean men who follow the fascist rules of ethnic cleansing. The refugees are brown and must be kept out, must be kept down. The country is full, he says, as if it's a hotel. No room for you, even though this is their land too, their America. They have journeyed 3,000 miles to escape their failed state, a legacy of US interventions, dirty wars, torture, exploitation, and control. They have entered into a mouth of hatred, a tight sphincter of hostility. In the new Warsaw Ghetto, families disintegrate, disappear, desaparecidos. To the haters, I say, careful, lest you become a refugee of a fire, a flood, a mudslide, a drought, a tsunami, an earthquake, a tornado, a drought, a hurricane, a market crash, a massacre, a mortgage, a sinkhole, an eviction, a tyrant, a war. Careful, lest you become a refugee, forced to escape collapsing ports of entries from which there is no return. Careful, lest you become a refugee desperate and stuck on an invented line, stranded on a slim island of terror, denied, denounced, dehumanized. Careful, we are all straddling fraying ages, the uncertainty of madness, of natural disasters, eminent domains, and rash developments of Warsaw ghettos. Soon, we may all be on the move in search of a refuge from disintegrating societies and from the paralyzing devastation of human love. Thank you. So I took that I took a step inside in terms of what causes people to get to this point. Yes, yeah, ideologically, fascism, of course. You know, ethnic cleansing, of course. But what goes on with people at a more maybe internal level? And so this is a new poem. It's really a rough, but I will share it with you. Where did it go? What kind of child were you that you cannot remember or don't want to? Some small essence of what it is to be a human being? Was your inner child suffocated at birth and left alone in a dark cage of family vacuums, freezing with loveless gazes? Forced a child into the hielera, a purgatory of cold, a fluorescent iceberg. How much pain can cause, she wonders. It is a child's question in an icy, windowless room. Did you squander your inner child on inventories of objects and things? The things you learned to value required darkness and deceit, deprived the child of light you never had. A little boy cries in the futility of his confinement. The dark shadow of his mother keeps sliding away into another corner of the cage where he can no longer see her. You have squandered the lives of children like the dollars in your banks, your pockets, your investments, your prisons. A child coughs blood and moves deliriously through a web of cold, brutal darkness. Precision creations of your own dead inner child, never acknowledged or buried, crafting the whole that has become your heart. Thank you. Something a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more uplifting. This is to my grandmother, who was immigrated here from Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. Her name was Aurora, which means dawn in English. By the way, is everybody like comfy? Do you want to stand up, move the nachos around, you know, do the funky chicken? No, you're okay? All right. Dawn. The Mexican Revolution and Aurora Maldonado were born in the same breath. The years of Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, and agrarian reforms were also the years of the third child in a family of 12, but this would not last. When Aurora's mother and father died in some unknown, rather be forgotten way, she became the parents of 11 children. Life in northern Mexico was hazardous at the time. The country was unstable, weak with pains of reformation, political upheaval, and domestic untranquility. Though the Mormon colony in Chihuahua provided a separate peace from political affairs, mere survival was hard enough. Political aggression was at their heels. And Aurora sang its freedom song and Aurora sang its freedom song loud enough to reach the ears of And America sang its freedom song loud enough to reach the ears of Aurora. 11 children wanted to sing. She wanted to sing too. She was content to hum. By the time Aurora reached the Texas territory of the rich and prosperous United States of America, she was married. Half her brothers and sisters had gone their own way. Children, if they ever had a childhood, grew up fast in those times. After all, Aurora was a woman of 14. She needed someone to care for her. It was time to live her own life. The Depression swept America off its feet, and Aurora had her second child. Bread lines, floor scrubbing, an occasional dollar from a sometimes home husband, and the family survived. By the time Aurora had her third child, her husband had left the family forever, but the Depression would not leave. Survival for Aurora and 3 children, all girls, would not be easy, but nothing had been easy for her. Roman Catholic Church, God, and all the angels and saints helped her, she claims. Where would I have gotten the strength? Where did a mother of 3 who spoke so little English find a job in America during the Depression? But Aurora washed floors, scrubbed walls, painted ceilings, and Aurora fixed pipes, cleaned ovens, washed laundry, home after home, day after day, bearing seemingly arthritic hands that were not arthritic, lifted furniture, carried crates, and her strength grew not in the muscles of her arms, but in her mind. Aurora was strict and firm and very, very Catholic. Her children were disciplined to accept the depression and the absence of a mother. 70 hours a week of her work got them through. After the Depression, the town of El Paso became more comfortable, and Aurora remarried. She thought she needed a man. All he gave me was problems. I need strength, not problems, but I find out I got enough strength of my own. Aurora divorced her second husband during the Second World War. Aurora watched her children marry and her grand and great-grandchildren grow. Her life has been a tapestry of God, superstition, agony, and love. You can see her now saying her prayers to St. Anthony in her house on a hill in Los Angeles. She prays for me, her misguided grandchild, to go so far away from home. And when I see her, her faded gray eyes will give me a worried smile, and she'll ask me, ¿Por qué quieres ir tan lejos de tu casa, mija? Why do you want to go so far away from your home, my child? And then she'll remind her 21-year-old grandchild, Hija, you're just a child. What you know about life? It's hard for a woman, real hard. I don't know why God made women anyhow, just to suffer. And I'll reply that I know this, but I think she forgets sometimes about her life and what a woman is capable of. Thank you. My grandmother was the first feminist that I knew. I asked her about her last name one time. Is that your last name, Bora? Or was it your last husband's name? She goes, I dropped the man, I dropped the name. Yeah. Okay, a couple of educators. Actually, this is my first book, Sueño de Colibri. It was actually published in 1986, so it's been around a while. And one of the poems in here, Educators, I wrote even before the book was published. So I had already been noticing the mistreatment of children in this society. You know, by the way, I think we need to remember this bullshit sanctity of life that they keep trying to tell us about, you know, is a total myth in their minds because, you know, the separation of Native children from their families, you know, the separation, things that are going on right now. I mean, there's so many causes for that. Well, also we need to remember that children worked in fabricas at the age of 3 in this country. And child labor wasn't outlawed until about 1940. So this is a place that has always mistreated its children. And this is called Educators. My apologies to those of you who are educators here. I don't think you do this stuff, but many do. After the child dies and is hung to dry on our walls like certificates, will we look proudly at a silken hide and be aware there is nothing inside? When we cut out the child tongue and bleach the color from the child mind, will we find muteness an unspoken good sign? Children die slowly and are buried into adults who kill children. Springtime of the matriarch. The spring of the matriarch blooms blood red and roses that harbor history. I hear the distant echoes of my daughter's dreams. She suffers no penalties for the gifts she gives. Her strength, inherited through countless ages, is a tempered steel of my sorrow and the compassion of a new age I have yet to know. Okay, so I thought I would read this poem that refers to children at a time of, I don't know, apocalypse? I don't know what you want to call this, what's going on right now. It's called My Earring. Time is disappearing, poles are shifting, glaciers are melting, oceans are heating, volcanoes exploding, mountains sliding, air evaporating. Land is losing, light is dimming, men manipulating, media minds meandering. Lawyers are looting, our children are shooting, developers polluting, the doctors are drugging, the papers are plugging, politicians lying, the president spying, the government is dying, winds are crying, land will not be drying. The schools are closing, principals posing, students are supposing the end is near. Dealers are winning, the elite class whining, workers not working, poor are pouring into pits of warring. The water is wasting, oilmen taking, priests are raping, boys shaking, bodies caking, hearts are breaking. The trees are toppling, birds are dropping, fish are frying, tortures are tying, soldiers are burning and not returning. Souls are hurting, mothers grieving, churches deceiving. Warlords are stealing, women need healing, hatred is killing, millionaires milling, billionaires billing, the Gulf is boiling, migrants are toiling, cheap labor exploiting. The White House is sinking, the PR is stinking, senators winking, cocktail glasses tinkling. Humanity is reeling, faces are peeling, the drug dealers dealing, the dead have no feeling. Clocks are ticking, dogs are licking, Congress is tricking, the House dividing, the people are fighting, thieves are picking, democracy sickening. The past is haunting, the present mocking, the future is daunting. My stocking is running. My resolve should be stronger. I could live longer. My ear is ringing, lovers are loving, jokers are punning, the children are grinning, love light is pinning, a new beginning for the saved and the sinning, the self and the other, the father, the mother, the guide and the guardian, the children's sweet pardon, the singer's soft song, the rose light of dawn, the me and the you, a polished red shoe, a witch's sweet brew, the changes are due. Thank you. I think this will be maybe a good time to do my last poem. Okay. And as Josiah mentioned, the book Maestra Peace is a pictorial, this gorgeous pictorial, which documents the history of the women's building in San Francisco that was painted in the early 90s and the lives of all the badass women who painted it. And so I was very privileged when I was asked to submit a poem for that. And I want to make a little comment here about patriarchy at this time, because patriarchy is rule under men, the father's side. And under patriarchy, women and children do not fare well. Now, if we had a balanced patriarchy, you know, where men could actually show their feelings and feel good about that and be who they truly are in every sense of the word, body, mind, and spirit, it would be different, but we don't have that. And as a result, we are now getting to the end of our natural resources, because to me, Mother Earth is the sacred feminine. And if we are destroying Mother Earth, then basically we're destroying the sacred feminine. So I had a very good time writing this poem's called Passages, and it's about women. There are passages of history written by women with pens and paint, with scars and blood and beating hearts. Wolf Mother Locas who bay at the moon to receive the warrior's light. Medicine mamas ready with remedies for bodies, for minds and souls. Divine feminine awakened ignites action, engendered genius, and forges the infinite collaborations of culture, community, and survival. A blood sunrise is tattooed on their hearts. There is thunder in their voices and lightning in their veins. Feet march, fists rise, ideas radiate. There are sisters who bear beauty and burdens, who birth children and ideas, wounded warriors who seek to heal and yearn to restore planetary balance and to be in alignment with earth, with moon, with sun, with self, with each other. Time slows, eyes close, palms meet, thoughts surrender to the eternity of breath that merges with the divine. La Diosa is in the house. Kuan Yin, Goel Shauki, and Oba dance to Oshun's river tempos. Shiva spins oldies and Kali falls into the arms of Yemaya on a delicious full moon night. The goddess is present in the words of Rigoberta Menchú, in the passion of Lolita Lebron, in the love of Audre Lorde. La Diosa is well and kicking and ready to inhabit hearts, expand minds, lift spirits, renew societies. Receive the maguey plant offering, the gift of golden corn. Drink the rising waters and calm the shaking earth. Write the passages she longs for with your joy and with your tears. Satisfy your soul. Stand in the power that is woman and be the evolution. Thank you. Gracias. Gracias.